Theologians would not say mind, they would say your conscience. They'd say it's in your conscience. Now, I am hard pressed, not being a theologian, what is the difference between a conscience and my mind?
The id and super id. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's the same.
Well, I can think of a difference.
You got a conscience. A lot of people don't have a conscience.
Yeah, but they still have a mind, right? So what is the difference between your conscience and your mind?
Or is it your subconscious and then it's brought forward
into your mind?
Into your mind.
Yeah, that is new agey. I like it though. Knowledge and reasoning.
Yeah, and your conscience is everywhere.
Well, now does the conscience have a guilt factor?
One's a noun and the other one's an adjective.
If I hit Pete and my conscience would say, Mark, you shouldn't do that, right? There's a judgment in our conscience, right? We say that. We say, oh, I felt so bad, dear. My conscience was bothering me, so I am come to beg your forgiveness for saying your spaghetti sucked. So our conscience has a feeling to it, doesn't it? But our mind doesn't necessarily.
So, now I'm thinking what popped in my head while you were saying that would be our emotions.
Yeah.
Our mind, will, and emotions are our soul, isn't it?
But I thought we're not supposed to trust our feeling.
Who says that?
But not trust your feeling. But if you act on your feelings all the time.
Man says that all the time. The church says that. But God says shalom.
Right. That's what
May you have shalom. Isn't that a feeling?
Right. Yeah. So, right. But I guess it's the feeling of, if I'm not feeling like, oh, it's my head. I'm not going to, he's been cranky to me. I'm not going to look. But then I have to remember, oh, wait, I have the spirit. So that I really can't just look him.
Now that was your conscience, right? Yeah. So could we say that the conscience is the part of our mind that peace and anxiety work in? Because a good conscience, I have a good conscience. You walk out of the house, I'm right with the Lord. You're feeling good.
But then couldn't that be kind of cross the line of pride? When you have to be, I'm really good. I don't need it today.
Well, we don't want to add those last words. But shalom, shalom is God's words, right? My peace upon you. Isn't peace a feeling?
Yeah.
So why could we say that we shouldn't trust our feelings when God says, I'm giving you peace? See, and you're right. We're walking ground where most Christians think we're treading over and out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I have the most kickback, right here.
Oh.
But this is what God has taught me, that he promises me shalom, he promises me peace when I do his will. Isn't that what he means? When I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil because I know he is with me and I'm at peace. That's a feeling. He says it. So why can't I trust that feeling? Not that I don't need God, but that I'm in his will.
Maybe you have to ask, is that take that thought captive? Is this your will or my flesh?
Well, we're talking about a feeling, see?
What do you mean, yeah? Is that feeling the flesh?
Okay, so I can take...
This feels good, and that drink brings me joy.
But that isn't peace.
No.
Peace isn't in the flesh.
But I think it's peace.
Peace is in the mind.
Ask,
isn't it?
Ask God.
Is
this your peace or is this my peace? Because my peace might be different than...
Can you not tell the difference?
Some people can't.
But if you belong to God, I'll bet you can.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, where you.
But only those that belong to God can feel shalom.
Yeah.
What does he say? I give you peace. Not as the world gives it. So we're talking about a
That means we have
peace.
to be in that constant.
That's where you get that peace, see? By walking through the valley, knowing that he is with you. See, so shalom, peace in our mind is given to us by God for the purpose of confirming that we're walking in his will. And if there's no peace, and I call it anxiety because that's the easiest thing to call it, but there's no peace. When there's no peace, what does that tell us?
Something's amiss.
Something's amiss. Now, it could be a couple different things, but something's amiss. Our relationship with God's amiss, right? Isn't it our relationship with God? Now, that could be because Satan is throwing a dart. Sometimes that'll happen, and I'll have to say, and I say this is my conversation with God a lot nowadays. I feel some anxiety, God. Where's that from? I feel I'm all right with you. Tell me if I'm not all right with you. See what that did, that anxiety did? It drove me to my Lord. What am I doing wrong? Is there something wrong? And then he'll often put in my mind, yeah, Mark, remember when you did this? Oh, yeah. Oh, see, that thought will pop up in my mind. Something I did wrong. And he's reminding me, the Holy Spirit's reminding me in my conscience, this is something you did wrong. Oh, yeah. And then I got to confess it and say, I did that. Oh, you got to change my heart, God, because I can't do it myself, right? We err when we say, I'll fix that, God. And that's what the pastors in the pulpits always say. You fix that. You fix that. Well, I can't fix that. See? So I believe, and maybe as I try to teach this, what God has taught me, maybe I need a better word than anxiety, but I can't think of another one. Restlessness.
That's what I get sometimes, just an uneasy, restless feeling.
Yeah.
Like something isn't settling right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not necessarily, like what your example was that, God's wanting to teach you something or show you something.
Or guide you somewhere.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, I don't know, I'm trying to figure this part out, if it's like the Lord wants you to go communicate with him and just be in prayer.
Just talk to him.
Right, because there might be something going on that we're not aware of in the atmosphere or in people that we know and love, or even people we don't know, or whatnot.
And that is exactly the next example I was going to say, because sometimes he just says that. He says, talk to me. And so I start talking. Lord, I feel this anxiety. I don't know why. Can you tell me? Is there somebody I should pray for? Boom! Somebody comes right in my mind. See, I asked the question. Jesus said, you don't receive, you don't ask. And when you ask, you don't ask for the right motives. I'm asking for the right motives. So we have to probe. I like what you say, Tia, and that's kind of what you do too, right? You start talking to him, saying, what's going on? Why am I feeling this anxiety? And that drives us right to the Lord. And then he'll answer those questions. I think that's what he means when he says. So, is that anything different than what
That would be like listening and
sit and listen? Yeah.
listening.
So, but we've added something to it. We've added conscience, not just our mind. We've conscience, which is a feeling. And yes, Karen, I've heard the church tell me all my life, don't trust your feelings. But the more I read the Bible and I talk, just look up peace and what God says about peace. Obviously, he says we should trust his peace.
Well,
And
also our feelings a lot of times will be in line with what's in the Word.
But sometimes they won't. So it's like in
Right.
one of those ask.
Well, also I think anxiety comes because you don't have clarity.
yeah,
You don't understand the situation.
Yeah.
Or you need to ask and find out more than
Yeah.
what's in front of you right at that moment.
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit can guide you Not human knowledge and wisdom, but through the Holy Spirit only.
So I think, could we say that the Holy Spirit will break our peace? We could say, or give us a little anxiety or unsettledness to call us to communion.
I think so.
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Because we're not to
I
be
think
anxious
that when
about
you're
it.
not in God's grace, you have no peace. How can you have peace if you're not in God's grace?
But as believers,
Yes, as believers, if you're in sin and you haven't repented, you're not going to be in God's grace.
right? But there are times when, like Tia says, when I feel something, my peace isn't where it normally would be, and I feel a little bit of anxiety. I just call it
Or
anxiety,
agitation.
agitation, settledness, and then I ask the Lord, what's going on? Then I've opened the door to a conversation, and then He tells me.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So we say that the Holy Spirit teaches us by probing us into conversing with God? Or is he, how do we put words on what I just said that makes sense? Because what we just talked about, what I just said, and what Tia has enjoyed, and I think we've all kind of felt that, and I have felt it, that isn't something that the church is familiar with. That's not something that people are familiar with, how God does that. He says, I will give you peace, not as the world gives peace, but sometimes that peace is gone, and it's gone not because we have sinned or told the Holy Spirit no. It's gone because the Holy Spirit wants us to start communicating with Him, and we don't know why, but in the communication, He reveals to us why. That's a whole bunch of words of trying to say what I'm trying to say.
But maybe in that anxious part, well then, but he'll bring to mind, oh, that with whatever it is that you're anxious about, oh, I'm supposed to bring that to you and pray about it. And you're supposed to be thankful for it. And then you're supposed to think of all the things that are trustworthy, beautiful, kind.
Yeah,
Lovely,
Philippians things, yeah.
Because you'll bring,
Yeah.
which I'm not so great at
No,
when I get anxious.
when we start thinking, that's when we need to remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And I don't, and maybe it's, He's not going to let us bear more than we can handle. So maybe in those times.
I'm just going to write that peace, anxiety, and our conscience for now.
Mhm.
In conscience. And believe it or not, there is an amazing amount of passages that talk about God's peace and the loss of God's peace. Yet that's not a doctrine taught in our churches at all. Or have any of you ever heard of that doctrine? I think that's Satan's work. Okay, well, let's go to Ephesians